Hey, do you want to own a Linkara plushie? Don't answer. Yes, you do. Support the Linkara plushie makeship campaign now. Link in the description. Hello and welcome to Atop the Fourth Wall, where bad comics burn. Patreon-sponsored review time again. Say, did you hear that manga I reviewed the first chapter of a few years ago, Delicious in Dungeon? It got an anime adaptation. It's really obscure because nobody's been talking about it at all. A shame, really, because I'm sure it'd be super popular if people just checked it out. Yeah, the patron gave me a list of stuff I could cover. An obscure TV show, some good but lesser-known comics, but sometimes I like to follow up on stuff from years back, and Patreon-sponsored reviews, being so eclectic and all over the place. I remind you that the episode before this one was a weird David Cronenberg movie about fleshy virtual reality machines, and yeah, as I expected, there were some fervent defenders of the film. Good on you! You certainly don't have to agree with everything I say. Means that I don't often do follow-ups. The request was actually made before the anime came out, so there was no way to predict how popular it would become. But hey, works in my favor here. Give me some of that yummy engagement and attention from new viewers. Until they realize I don't normally review manga and then click off immediately. Anyway, Delicious in Dungeon, aka Dungeon Meshi, is the story of Laios and his adventuring party. Said party was attacked by a dragon inside a deep dungeon, and the dragon ate his sister. Fortunately, they live in a world where they give a middle finger to the natural forces of it and can resurrect her, but they need to retrieve her remains. With no money for food, the party elects to use the most plentiful resource in a fantasy dungeon: the monsters! So here's your philosophical quandary for the comments section. If Lord of the Rings followed this idea, would Gollum qualify as a monster that could be eaten? Follow-up, would you even want to? I've got to imagine he's all string and gristle. I also somehow screwed up in my conclusion of that review, wondering how Laios' sister could survive in the dragon's stomach for so long, despite it being very clear they meant, no, she's dead. That's the point of trying to resurrect her. Not sure how I screwed that up. In any case, the current party is made up of Laios, the half-elf mage Marcille, who is not enthusiastic about eating monsters, the halfling rogue Chilchuck, and finally, the dwarf warrior Senshi, who's their expert in cooking monsters. Apparently in the English dub of the series, he's voiced by ProZD. Appropriate given his expertise with fantasy RPGs.
So, you finally arrived. What the hell are you wearing?
It's my ass-kicking outfit, bitch!
So let's dig into chapters 2 and 3 of Delicious in Dungeon and see what new spore of madness that they're going to eat up because mushroom men exist here.
Welcome to Atop the Fourth Wall, where bad comics burn. Linkara's gonna teach you all a lesson you won't learn. What's with these awkward subjects? What's all this art so rubbish? To anyone who's had a bad comic published, it could be your turn. Linkara, he is a man, punch, sporadically a grouch. Linkara, he has his own spaceship, but he's always on his couch. Linkara, ghosts, gods, a universe in flux. Linkara, this comic sucks. Linkara.
We already looked at the manga cover last time, so let's just proceed with the next chapter. Here we have our title page for chapter 2, Tart. Dude, that is clearly a sandwich. Do we have to have the rice balls versus donut talk again? Also, either he's getting eaten by a victory bell or Laios has found a charming new sleeping bag vendor. We open with our heroes proceeding down into the next level of the dungeon. As a reminder, this whole thing started with a decrepit old man rising up from a tomb and claiming that his old kingdom was ripe for the taking for anyone who claims it, but only if they get past all the monsters in the way. The first chapter only featured the first floor that's become a massive marketplace, whereas the next levels are where things get weird. Large overgrowths of plants, the monsters, abandoned castle towers, etc. The scholars say that this is the tower of the golden castle that slumbers deep in the earth, though really it's just a tourist trap. Here's our mall map that serves as our location guide. Ooh, they've got an orange Julius down there. Anyway, Chilchuck wonders aloud why the trees down here don't extend past the surface, considering how large they are. Maybe the space is warped.
And time is bendable.
Marcille trips on a gap in the bridge, and they decide that they've been walking long enough and should set up camp for the night. Laios recalls a previous time they did this, and we got burned trying to make pork soup. Don't know how that pig got a flamethrower. Soup. I could use some new clothes. Senshi offers Marcille some leftover scorpion broth, but she turns him down. She's also icked out a bit when Laios says he wants to go hunt for a monster to eat, but she's hungry enough that she just wants something edible. So no almond joys then. They check their guidebook to see what's available. Marcille rejects unsanitary creatures like rats and bats and anything demi-human, so forest goblins are out. Good, because there's an entire class of VTubers who wouldn't appreciate being eaten. And one class that probably would appreciate it, but there you go. Unfortunately, that only really leaves living armor as an option. Metal? Deep fried and crunchy. She begs them to find something normal, like birds or fruit. Ah, I know this type. They say anything's fine, but then they nitpick all our suggestions. Okay, to be fair, it's not really that unreasonable that it doesn't include beings that wear clothes or are clothes. I mean, by your logic, you wouldn't be mad if eating senshi was suggested. I mean, there is a lot out there that's edible, but you still wouldn't want to eat it. Boot leather is technically edible, but I don't think Sir John Franklin would have said it was a preferred meal. They point out that, yeah, technically there are birds and stuff here, but they're not going to attack them. They'd have to be prepared to hunt them, which they're not exactly equipped for. Ducks don't come along carrying leeks on their backs, you know. Unless this is Pokemon, in which case we have Farfetch'd. Although this is the dungeon, so we might meet a monster duck with a man-eating leek. Oh, so Surfetch'd then. Senshi, however, points out that they are in the right time of year for nuts and fruits. And by that he means man-eating plant fruit, much to Marcille's horror. However, Laios educates her that for most of these plants, that's just a name. For instance, one flower near them secretes a sap that will attract animals, then its vines wrap around and trap the small animal until it dies, letting it decompose and provide its own compost to feed it. And Chilchuck points out that they're still close to the surface. There's an entire profession of necromancers who will come down, find corpses in the early floors, and revive them for a small fee afterwards. It's mandatory to pay 10% to 20% of what you have to your finder. And if you refuse to pay, well, there's a reason why they carry a big heavy stick with them too. Senshi points out some nearby fruit they can pick, but they don't think they can do so discreetly. Marcille volunteers to use her magic to get them, but right before she launches her attack, Senshi interrupts her. The distraction allows a massive, actual man-eating plant to grab hold of her with its vines.
Were you planning to blow all the fruit away with magic too? Take only what you'll eat. That's an ironclad rule.
Oh yeah, you don't want this kingdom's DNR after you. They'll feed you to 5 of those things as punishment. Another former victim of the plant slides out of the picture, though admittedly I'd assume that they were more decomposed than what we can see, as they remark that some can digest humans.
By the way, Marcille, yours is parasitical. It embeds its seeds under its prey's skin and...
Oh, Laios, you know exactly what to say to make someone hungry. Fortunately, he's not completely useless here and slices the plant down at the root, freeing Marcille. Even after Marcille is freed, he continues to describe happily in horrifying detail how various different plants like this one will ensnare their victims and eat them.
But this kind has to hold its prey gently enough not to kill it, but without letting it escape. The way they wrap around you, that delicate balance, where you can't move but its grip isn't uncomfortable. I imagine it must feel really good. How was it?
Marcille's expression just kinda says it all, doesn't it? Dude's lucky I'm not there. If I was being gleefully told, oh, the tentacle vines grabbing you must have been so comfortable, I probably would have grabbed the vines and choked him to death with them while asking the same thing. Chilchuck says that, yeah, that was pushing it a bit far, dude. But hey, they walk off with all the fruits and start cooking them. Senshi extracts the seed and Laios tries to hide said seed. Marcille notices. Give me what you just put in your armor!
I want to see if these can grow above ground.
Geez, I just thought I'd introduce an invasive species of man-eating plants into our local ecosystem. What's the big deal? Yeah, she burns the seed to his dismay. Senshi puts on his little cooking show of how he makes a man-eating plant tart.
Mash the unripe fruit, add some slime and a little scorpion broth, then mix it until it gets sticky. Once it's smooth, add the rest of the scorpion broth and the chopped fruit.
There's no butter, there's no richness, and it's just bland.
As pointed out, it's not really a tart, so it is a sandwich like on the title page? No, it just looks like a tart. And despite Marcial's initial reservations, it actually tastes really good. Once they're done, though, they have that other person's corpse to deal with. Should I resurrect him with magic? Better not. That could go wrong. Isn't the entire point of this trip to go down and resurrect your sister? My what now? Oh, hey, pass me some monster jerky. They decide to leave him for someone else to take care of, but they want to make him easy to spot, so they string up the corpse from a tree. It is as off-putting as you would imagine. Marcial had a few bad dreams that night. Although that had nothing to do with the corpse or her day, Freddy Krueger was just being an asshole that night. Let's move on to the second chapter, Roast Basilisk, whose chapter page does not feature said basilisk, roasted or otherwise, but rather all of Senshi's various cooking supplies. This manga is just a stealth advertisement for all that cookware. Speaking of nightmares, the chapter opens with one from Marcial, her coming home to a feast for her birthday. See? All the things you love. Harvested from the dungeon. Ag!
What the fuck is that? What is that? Hey, madam, what is that? What is that? Look, it doesn't even fucking come out. What is that?
She wakes up to see that the smell from her dream was real at least. A nearby other party is making breakfast by grilling salt pork. Marcial is jealous, but Senshi says that young adventurers don't know what they're doing. The fat in meat helps give you the energy to explore the dungeon. It's important, but it's not enough. Malnutrition is scarier than monsters. Okay, you say that, but the malnutrition isn't going to claw at your flesh for a while, inject you with painful venom, shove plant seeds under your skin, or slowly rot away your body to provide fertilizer, so... No? Just adding a side of man-eating plants or walking mushrooms would make a big difference, but... young adventurers don't know that. Look at them, eating animals that aren't some horrid abomination against God. Damn kids. Senshi says that this is a reminder that they aren't exactly eating a well-balanced meal either. When you saw pork, elf girl, you said you were jealous. That's because your body wants fat. No, I just don't want to eat monsters! Look, what is a cow really but a monster to the grass? Eh? Think about it. Senshi decides they'll hunt a monster rich in fat that also has eggs that are good for them. A basilisk, with the body of a chicken, the tail of a snake, and lethal venom in its fangs and spurs. The appearance of a basilisk varies and is open to interpretation by various artists, with this one taking the tail of a snake to mean that it's actually a second head for its tail. Anyway, despite the fact that this thing actually resembles real animals, Marcial still isn't convinced. Is it chicken? Really? Can we actually call that chicken? Can you really make tenders out of it? How many nuggies can you make from something part snake? Laios absolutely adores it. They're really cool, aren't they? I used to think the more species a monster was made of, the better it was. Then I saw John Carpenter's The Thing and quickly turned around on that. With just 2 species, though, each heightens the charm of the other. Being able to swallow something whole really makes me appreciate feathers. It showed me the appeal of chickens, when I'd only ever seen them as poultry. You say that as if poultry isn't appealing enough. Don't let Secret Agent Poyo hear you say something like that, man. They soon locate a basilisk nest, and Senshi explains that they lay eggs every 2 to 3 days that are mostly unfertilized, so they should collect some while they can. And indeed, they soon find some basilisk eggs, which are longer and skinnier than chicken eggs. Aren't they kinda soft? Oh yeah, that's what makes them soft-boiled. They soon hear the yell of the basilisk and spot it attacking the party that they saw earlier. They're running straight away from it, which according to Laios is the worst way to do so, since it just invites the basilisk to slash at your back. Instead, Laios leaps in and yells. You're supposed to make loud noises to threaten them and then make yourself look bigger by spreading your arms and legs. Senshi goes in from behind, the snake tail reacting to his presence. And this is how you slay a basilisk, for while you might think that having 2 heads would keep them from being sneak attacked, they only have 1 body, and if you attack from both sides at once, the 2 brains get confused, giving an opening to slice said heads off. Laios checks on the other 2 from the party, and unfortunately the guy got poisoned. I'm sorry, unfortunately we don't have any antidotes on us. Laios, Senshi says we do. What I mean is we don't have any free antidotes on us. Pay up. No, Laios tells Senshi to give him one, but Senshi says he was planning on cooking with it. He says to wait until he's done cooking. But he's dying! The antidote tastes better cooked than eaten by itself.
Hey, Senshi, do you know what's really bad for your diet? Dying from poison! They tell him to hurry up and make it then.
It's a bit early for lunch yet.
And brunch is against my religion. They insist he make it now, and thus we go through the procedure of preparing the thing. Cutting off appendages, plucking it, rubbing in spices, although they insist he roast it now instead of letting it sit overnight to marry the flavors. Oh, come on, it won't kill you to wait. Okay, it won't kill this guy, but his funeral's gonna have such a banquet! He includes the medicinal herbs for nutritional value, and Marcille speculates that it's also to neutralize the basilisk poison in what they're cooking, and thus they roast it and feed it to the dying man. It helps, though Marcille says she'll cast a recovery spell on the guy first so he can properly eat, though accidentally tries to do it with a drumstick they're eating instead of her staff. The guy promises to repay her, but she just insists he have more food. I've never had proper food like this in the dungeon before. Senshi, you have an opportunity here to open up the world's first Kentucky Fried Basilisk, and I suggest you do it. You even got your 11 medicinal herbs and spices ready. After they're done, the two adventurers ask Laios for advice. They've been trying to get through the dungeon for a few months now, but keep getting wiped out in the same place. Thus they ask him how to get strong enough to cook monsters the way they do. Considering they just started again after almost getting killed, Laios has no answers, but is interrupted by Senshi, who goes on a rant and lecture about the ways to improve their physical health. Improve your diet, regulate your daily rhythms, and add moderate exercise.
Watch these 3 points, and you'll naturally work your way towards strong bodies.
Okay, that's great and all, but I was kind of hoping for like a recommendation for a particular sword vendor. Our heroes say their farewells. Laios a little embarrassed that anyone thought of him as an experienced veteran adventurer when, you know, they just want to eat monsters on the way to rescuing his sister. The two who they saved think that our heroes are just swell, and also believe that they'll do their best from now on. And so our chapter ends with showing that they fought some man-eating plants and immediately failed miserably, probably meaning that they'll die a slow, horrible death as they're digested by plants.
Hooray! Question mark?
This manga continues to be great. Oh my god, what a brave and shocking opinion for me to express. Yeah, I don't know what I can really add at this point. These are the early chapters of the manga, wherein it's all about establishing some characterization, some light gags, oftentimes dark humor stuff like the two adventurers getting taken by the man-eating plants from before, and just in general getting a feel for how this story is gonna go. Having no actual knowledge of where the series goes, I get the feeling we'll get some legitimately darker moments later. Some tragic backstories, some found family fun as the four grow closer together, maybe an arc for Marcille where she wholeheartedly embraces monster eating. Or maybe none of that happens and it keeps the same generally light-hearted tone throughout. There is still, of course, the ongoing mystery of the dungeon and the hidden kingdom, so I get the feeling that will get brought up eventually, but at the very least, as it is right now, the initial chapters are just fun. Very expressive artwork, the monster designs are more detailed and interesting, consequently, the food they make out of the monsters looks delicious. And I'm a picky eater, in case you somehow didn't know, and this stuff actually looks like it'd be something I'd enjoy. And that means something when my diet's food pyramid has chicken tenders, pizza, and Arby's as their own separate food groups. Well, okay, Arby's size and that shrank after they got rid of potato cakes. And also, I have to eat more fruit and Cheerios because I have high cholesterol. Wonder how that happened. Perhaps I just need to embrace the healthier diet Senshi suggested. Next time, however, we're still on Patreon-sponsored reviews with Moomins and the Comet Chase.
That comic book
They're grilling salt pork, putting it on bread, and eating it!
Finally, some good fucking food.
Delicious in Dungeon, Just hair. Just cat fur. Looked like a spider. Hello, my friends. Please take a moment to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and click the bell for notifications on new video releases. If you'd like to support future videos, you can check out my Patreon, buy merch from the store envy link in the description, or check out the t-shirts available from Teespring. Thanks for watching.